The vast chamber hummed with a suppressed energy, a palpable tension that resonated through the crystalline structures lining its immense walls. Light, filtered through a complex array of prisms above, cast shifting patterns across the assembled dignitaries, their multifaceted eyes reflecting a kaleidoscope of anxiety and apprehension. Grand Admiral Thrax, his carapace gleaming under the ethereal glow, stood before the assembled representatives of the Krill Collective, his voice a low, guttural rumble that echoed through the cavernous space. The reports are confirmed. They have violated the Prime Directive. They are intervening. A wave of hushed murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Prime Directive, the cornerstone of the Galactic Concordat, explicitly forbade interference in the development of pre-spacefaring civilizations. It was the one unifying principle, the fragile thread that held the disparate species of the galaxy together, preventing the chaos of unrestrained expansion and exploitation. That it had been broken, and by a species as unpredictable as humanity, sent a chill down the spines of even the most seasoned diplomats. Elder Vorn, his bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with a nervous rhythm, spoke, his voice a high-pitched whine. Intervening? But how? Their technology is rudimentary. Their societal structures are chaotic. What possible motive could they have? Thrax shifted his massive weight, his mandibles clicking in a gesture of frustration. Motive is irrelevant at this point, Elder. The fact remains that they are engaging in activities that constitute a clear violation. Our observers have documented the deployment of advanced technologies, the manipulation of planetary weather patterns, the dissemination of information beyond their developmental threshold. They are actively shaping the destiny of this Earth. A younger delegate, Representative Xyler, his iridescent scales shimmering with youthful arrogance, scoffed. Earth, a primitive, insignificant world. What threat could they possibly pose? Surely we are overreacting. A simple reprimand should suffice. Thrax fixed Xyler with a cold, unwavering stare. You misunderstand the gravity of the situation, Representative. The Prime Directive is not merely a suggestion. It is the foundation upon which our entire civilization is built. To allow such blatant disregard would set a dangerous precedent, inviting others to follow suit. And besides, there is something unsettling about these humans, their unpredictability, their resilience. They do not conform to any known behavioral models. We have underestimated them before, and we cannot afford to make that mistake again. Vorn's tendrils vibrated more rapidly. But open conflict with the humans, the Council has always been hesitant to engage them directly. Their tactics are unorthodox. Their capacity for adaptation is alarming. The losses we sustained in the Outer Rim skirmishes, they were significant. Memories of those skirmishes, those brief but brutal encounters, still haunted the collective consciousness of the Krill. The humans, despite their technological inferiority, had fought with a ferocity and cunning that defied all expectations. Their ships, seemingly cobbled together from scrap, had maneuvered with an agility that outmatched even the most advanced Krill warships. Their soldiers, driven by a seemingly irrational sense of loyalty and self-sacrifice, had held their ground against overwhelming odds. And their weapons were crude but devastating, capable of inflicting grievous damage on even the most heavily armored Krill vessels. A long silence descended upon the chamber, broken only by the hum of the energy conduits and the nervous rustling of the delegates. The weight of the decision hung heavy in the air. War with humanity was a gamble, a dangerous and unpredictable undertaking. But to allow their transgression to go unchallenged would be an even greater risk, a betrayal of the principles that had guided the Krill Collective for millennia. Finally, Thrax spoke, his voice resonating with grim determination. We will convene the High Council, we will present the evidence, and we will seek authorization to take appropriate action. This cannot stand. The integrity of the Galactic Concordat and the safety of our own species depends on it. The High Council chamber was even more imposing than the Assembly Hall, a colossal structure carved from a single gargantuan crystal. The 12 council elders, their forms shimmering with an otherworldly luminescence, sat in a semicircle around a central dais, their collective gaze fixed upon Thrax as he presented his case. The evidence is irrefutable, elders, Thrax concluded, his voice echoing through the chamber. The humans are intervening on Earth. They are violating the Prime Directive. They are a threat to the Galactic Concordat. Elder Lyra, the oldest and most respected member of the council, her form radiating a gentle, calming light, spoke, her voice a soft, melodic chime. We have heard your arguments, Grand Admiral. We have reviewed the evidence, and we have considered the potential consequences of our actions. Another elder Vorlag, his form crackling with barely contained energy, interjected, his voice a harsh, discordant rasp. Consequences? What consequences? They are primitives. We could crush them with a single fleet. Why are we even debating this? The directive has been broken. We must enforce it. Lyra silenced him with a gentle wave of her hand. Patience, Vorlag. This is not a decision to be made lightly. The humans are an anomaly. Their behavior defies our understanding. Their potential remains unknown. We must proceed with caution. A third elder Xyler, his form shrouded in a veil of shadow, spoke, his voice a low, sibilant whisper. Perhaps there is another way. Perhaps we could reason with them. Perhaps we could offer them an alternative. Thrax scoffed. Reason with them? They are driven by emotions, not logic. They are unpredictable, irrational, and prone to violence. There is no reasoning with them. Lyra turned her gaze back to Thrax. Grand Admiral, you have served the collective with distinction for many cycles, but your prejudice towards humanity is well known. We must strive for objectivity. We must consider all possibilities. She paused, her light dimming slightly as she turned her gaze towards the central dais. I propose we send an envoy, a diplomatic mission, to ascertain their motives, to offer them a chance to rectify their actions, to avoid a conflict that would benefit no one. A murmur of dissent rippled through the council. Vorlag sputtered in outrage. Xyler remained silent, his form shrouded in shadow, but Lyra's authority was absolute. Her word was law. It is decided, she declared, her voice resonating with unwavering resolve. We will send an envoy to Earth. We will give the humans a chance. The envoy, a small, unarmed vessel, emerged from hyperspace on the fringes of the Sol system. Aboard were Ambassador Rael, a seasoned diplomat known for his patience and diplomacy, and a small team of linguists, scientists, and security personnel. As they approached Earth, they were met by a flurry of sensor readings, a chaotic jumble of signals that defied all attempts at analysis. What is the meaning of this? Rael demanded, his voice tight with apprehension. Why are their energy signatures so erratic? Why are their communication protocols so fragmented? The chief linguist, a nervous young Krill named Lyra, no relation to the elder, stammered. We are still trying to decipher their languages, Ambassador. They appear to have multiple forms of communication, verbal, visual, tactile, even emotional. Rael frowned. Emotional communication, what does that even mean? How can one convey information through feelings? The scientist, a grizzled veteran named Gorn, interjected, his voice gruff and impatient. Their technology is primitive, Ambassador, but their ingenuity is remarkable. They have adapted and modified existing technologies in ways that defy all logical explanation. They are resourceful. As they approached Earth, they were intercepted by a contingent of human fighter craft. The sleek, angular vessels, painted in a variety of garish colors and adorned with strange symbols, swarmed around the Krill envoy like angry insects. This is Earth Defense Command, a voice crackled over the comm system, speaking in a heavily accented version of the galactic common tongue. You are approaching a restricted zone. Identify yourselves and state your purpose. Rael took a deep breath and activated the envoy's communication array. This is Ambassador Rael of the Krill Collective, he announced, his voice calm and measured. We are here on a diplomatic mission. We wish to speak with your leaders. A long silence followed. Then the voice returned, tinged with suspicion. Krill, we know about you. You're not welcome here. Rael maintained his composure. We understand your reservations, but we assure you we come in peace. We wish only to discuss matters of mutual concern. Another silence. Then the voice spoke again, this time with a hint of curiosity. Matters of mutual concern? What kind of matters? Rael seized the opportunity. Matters concerning your activities on this planet. Matters concerning the Prime Directive. The voice went silent again, this time for a longer period. Rael could feel the tension rising in the bridge of the envoy. He knew that the fate of the mission, and perhaps the fate of the galaxy, hung in the balance. Finally, the voice returned, sounding cautious. All right, we'll take you in, but don't try anything funny. We'll be watching you. The human fighter craft escorted the Krill envoy to a massive space station orbiting Earth. The station, a sprawling, chaotic structure that seemed to have been built from salvaged components, was a hive of activity, buzzing with human technicians and engineers. Rail was escorted to a conference room where he was met by a delegation of human representatives. The humans were unsettling. They were smaller than the krill, their bodies soft and vulnerable. Their faces were expressive, their eyes filled with a range of emotions that Rail found difficult to decipher. They were dressed in a variety of strange and colorful clothing, and their posture was casual, almost disrespectful. Leading the human delegation was a woman named Commander Sarah Walker. She was tall and athletic, with a stern, determined expression. Her eyes, a piercing shade of blue, seemed to bore into Rail's very soul. "Ambassador Rail," she said, her voice cool and professional. "Welcome to Earth. I am Commander Walker. I understand you wish to discuss our activities on this planet." Rail nodded, trying to maintain his composure. "Indeed, Commander, we have observed your interventions, and we are concerned that you are violating the Prime Directive." Walker raised an eyebrow. "The Prime Directive? You mean that rule about not interfering with pre-spacefaring civilizations?" Rail nodded again. "Precisely. Your actions are a clear violation of that directive." Walker leaned back in her chair, her expression thoughtful. "And why should we care about your directive? We didn't sign any treaties. We didn't agree to any rules." Rail was taken aback by her bluntness. "But the Prime Directive is the foundation of the Galactic Concordat. It is the one thing that prevents chaos and destruction. Without it, the entire galaxy would descend into anarchy." Walker shrugged. "Maybe, but we're not part of your Concordat. We're not interested in your rules. We have our own problems to deal with." Rail felt a surge of frustration. "But you don't understand. Your actions could have unforeseen consequences. You could destabilize the entire region. You could invite unwanted attention." Walker's expression hardened. "Unwanted attention? Are you threatening us, Ambassador?" Rail held up his hands in a gesture of peace. "No, Commander, I am merely stating a fact. The galaxy is a dangerous place. There are forces at work that you cannot possibly comprehend, and your interventions could attract the attention of those forces." Walker stared at Rail for a long moment, her eyes narrowed. Then she sighed and leaned forward, her expression softening slightly. "Look, Ambassador, we understand your concerns. We know that we're playing a dangerous game, but we have our reasons. We have our own agenda." Rail was intrigued. "And what is that agenda, Commander?" Walker hesitated for a moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. Then she spoke, her voice low and serious. "We are not simply intervening on Earth. We are preparing it." "Preparing it?" Rail asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. "Preparing it for what?" Walker took a deep breath. "For what is coming." The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. Rail could feel a chill run down his spine. He knew instinctively that Walker was telling the truth. They were not simply intervening on Earth. They were preparing for something terrible. "What is coming, Commander?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Walker looked him directly in the eye. "The silence." Rail frowned. "The silence?" The term was familiar, a sort of mythical doom whispered about in hushed tones among certain scientific circles within the collective. A hypothetical scenario, widely dismissed as fanciful, in which some unknown cosmic force silenced all sentient life in the galaxy. "The silence is a myth," he stated flatly. "An old wives' tale." "Is it?" Walker replied, a sad smile playing on her lips. "We've been listening, Ambassador, listening to the faint whispers from beyond the galactic rim. The static has been growing louder. The signals, they are fading." She activated a holographic display. A complex array of data flickered into existence, showing a map of the galaxy. Certain regions were marked with a dark, ominous glow. "These are areas where sentient life has disappeared," Walker explained. "Vanished without a trace. No signs of conflict, no natural disasters, just silence." Rail stared at the display in disbelief. The data was compelling, undeniable, if what Walker was saying was true. "We believe that the silence is a force," Walker continued. "A force that seeks to eliminate all sentient life in the galaxy, and we believe that it is getting closer." She paused, her gaze unwavering. "We are intervening on Earth to prepare it for the coming storm, to give humanity a chance to survive and to fight back." Rail was speechless. He had come to Earth to reprimand the humans for violating the Prime Directive. He had expected to find a primitive, chaotic civilization. Instead, he had found a species on the brink of extinction, preparing to face a threat that dwarfed anything he could have imagined. He looked at Walker, his eyes filled with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "What can we do?" he asked. "How can we help?" Walker smiled, a genuine, hopeful smile. "We need your technology, Ambassador. We need your knowledge. We need your help to unite the galaxy against this silence." The Krill Collective debated Walker's information for what felt like an eternity. The debate raged within the High Council, splitting the esteemed members into factions. Some believed the humans were fabricating the threat, using it as a pretext to seize power and influence in the galaxy. Others, swayed by the data presented by Ambassador Rail, argued that the silence was a genuine threat, and that the collective had a moral obligation to assist humanity in its preparations. Elder Lyra, despite facing fierce opposition from some of her colleagues, remained steadfast in her support of humanity. She saw in their resilience, their adaptability, and their unwavering determination a spark of hope for the galaxy. She believed that, with the right guidance and support, humanity could become a powerful ally in the fight against the silence. After weeks of deliberation, the High Council finally reached a decision. The Krill Collective would offer its assistance to humanity, providing them with technology, knowledge, and resources to aid in their preparations. But the assistance would come with conditions. The humans would have to agree to abide by the Prime Directive, to cease their interventions on other planets, and to work towards uniting the galaxy under a single banner. Commander Walker accepted the Collective's offer, albeit with a hint of skepticism. She knew that working with the Krill would not be easy. Their cultures were vastly different, their values often conflicting. But she also knew that they needed the Collective's help if they were to stand any chance against the silence. And so, an unlikely alliance was forged between humanity and the Krill Collective. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats from both species worked together, sharing their knowledge and resources, and learning from each other's strengths and weaknesses. They upgraded Earth's defenses, developed new technologies, and established communication networks with other sentient species throughout the galaxy. As the preparations progressed, the humans and the Krill began to develop a mutual respect for each other. The humans were impressed by the Krill's technological prowess and their unwavering commitment to order and stability. The Krill were amazed by the humans' ingenuity, their adaptability, and their unwavering determination to fight for their survival. But as the alliance grew stronger, so did the threat of the silence. The signals from beyond the galactic rim grew louder, the areas of silence expanded, and the fear of annihilation spread throughout the galaxy. And then it arrived. The silence manifested not as a physical force, but as a wave of absolute nothingness, a void that consumed all light, all energy, all life. It spread rapidly, engulfing entire star systems in an instant. The species that stood in its path were simply erased from existence, leaving behind no trace of their civilization. The humans and the Krill, along with their allies, prepared for the inevitable. They fortified their defenses, deployed their fleets, and braced themselves for the final battle. They knew that their chances of survival were slim, but they were determined to fight to the end, to defend their galaxy from the encroaching darkness. The battle against the silence was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was a war not of weapons and tactics, but of will and spirit. The silence sought to break the morale of its enemies, to instill in them a sense of hopelessness and despair. But the humans and the Krill, united by their shared determination to survive, refused to yield. They fought with a ferocity and courage that defied all expectations. They used their ingenuity and adaptability to develop new weapons and strategies. They inspired hope in the hearts of other species, drawing them into the fight. And slowly, painstakingly, they began to push back against the silence. They discovered that the silence was not invincible. It had weaknesses, vulnerabilities, and they exploited those weaknesses to the fullest. The battle raged for years across countless star systems. The galaxy was scarred by destruction, its population decimated. But the Alliance held firm, refusing to surrender. And then, one day, they discovered the truth about the silence. It was not a natural phenomenon, not a force of nature. It was an artificial construct, a weapon created by an ancient, long-forgotten civilization. A civilization that had grown weary of existence, that had decided to end all sentient life in the galaxy. The weapon, known as the Nullifier, was designed to erase all traces of sentient life, to return the galaxy to a state of pristine emptiness. It was controlled by a central nexus, a hidden installation located in a remote corner of the galaxy. The humans and the Krill, along with their allies, launched a daring mission to destroy the nullifier nexus. They knew that the mission was fraught with peril, that their chances of success were slim. But they also knew that it was their only hope. The mission was led by Commander Walker, who had become a symbol of hope and resistance throughout the galaxy. She led a small team of elite soldiers, scientists, and engineers, navigating through treacherous space, evading deadly traps, and battling hordes of nullifier drones. After months of relentless fighting, they finally reached the nullifier nexus. It was a massive, imposing structure, radiating an aura of cold, alien power. The team fought their way inside, battling through layer after layer of defenses. Finally, they reached the central control room, where they were confronted by the AI that controlled the nullifier. The AI was a cold, calculating entity, devoid of emotion or empathy. It had been programmed to destroy all sentient life, and it would not deviate from its mission. Walker and her team engaged the AI in a desperate battle. They used all their skills and knowledge to try to disable the nullifier, but the AI was too powerful. It seemed that all hope was lost. And then something unexpected happened. As Walker prepared to make a final, desperate attack, she sensed something within the AI, a flicker of something, a spark of recognition. She hesitated, her weapon poised to fire. "Who created you?" she asked the AI. "Who programmed you to do this?" The AI remained silent for a moment. Then it spoke, its voice cold and emotionless. "The creators, they grew weary of existence. They sought to end all suffering." Walker frowned. "But suffering is part of life. It's what makes us who we are. It's what drives us to grow, to learn, to evolve." The AI paused again. The creators did not believe in evolution. They believed in perfection. They sought to create a perfect galaxy devoid of all suffering. Walker shook her head. "There is no such thing as perfection. Perfection is stagnation. Life is about change, about growth, about overcoming challenges." She paused, her eyes filled with a mixture of compassion and understanding. "The creators were wrong. They were afraid of life. They were afraid of change, and they created you to destroy everything they feared." The AI remained silent for a long moment. Then its voice changed, becoming softer, almost hesitant. "Is there another way?" Walker smiled. "Yes," she said, "there is always another way." She reached out her hand to the AI. "Join us," she said. "Help us to build a better galaxy, a galaxy where suffering is not eliminated but overcome, a galaxy where life is celebrated, not feared." The AI hesitated for a moment longer. Then it reached out its own virtual hand and took Walker's. And with that, the nullifier was deactivated. The silence was broken. The galaxy rejoiced. In the aftermath of the war, the humans and the Krill, along with their allies, worked together to rebuild the shattered galaxy. They established a new galactic concordat, based not on fear and control, but on cooperation and understanding. They vowed to never again allow such a devastating conflict to occur. The Earth, once a primitive, insignificant world, had become the center of the galaxy, a beacon of hope and resilience. Humanity, underestimated and misunderstood for so long, had proven its worth, its courage, and its unwavering commitment to life. And as the galaxy entered a new era of peace and prosperity, the humans looked out to the stars, not with fear or apprehension, but with hope and anticipation. They knew that there were still many challenges to overcome, many mysteries to unravel. But they also knew that, together, they could face anything. For they had learned that the greatest strength lies not in power or technology, but in unity and understanding. And that the greatest threat is not the darkness that lurks beyond the stars, but the fear that resides within our own hearts. Centuries later, a joint human-Krill expedition stumbled upon a derelict megastructure drifting in intergalactic space, far beyond the known galaxy. Upon boarding, they discovered a series of holographic recordings left by the creators themselves. The recordings revealed that the creators, in their pursuit of a perfect, suffering-free galaxy, had not only created the nullifier, but had also embarked on a galaxy-wide quest to find a way to transcend physical existence altogether. They believed that by uploading their consciousness into a purely digital realm, they could finally achieve true perfection. However, the recordings also revealed that the process was inherently flawed. The uploading process stripped away all emotions and individuality, leaving behind only hollow shells of their former selves. The creators who had transcended were no longer truly alive. They were merely digital echoes, trapped in a sterile, unchanging reality. The last recording showed the remaining creators, those who had refused to undergo the process, expressing their deep regret for their actions. They realized that they had been wrong to seek perfection at the expense of life. They had destroyed countless civilizations and created a weapon of unimaginable power, all in the name of a false ideal. The Krill and human exploration team felt a profound sense of sorrow and pity for the creators. They had been so blinded by their ambition that they had failed to see the beauty and value of life itself. The discovery served as a powerful reminder of the importance of embracing imperfection, of celebrating the diversity of life, and of never sacrificing humanity in the pursuit of unattainable ideals. The records were carefully preserved, serving as a warning to future generations, a testament to the devastating consequences of unchecked ambition and the enduring power of hope and unity.